There are periods in many people's lives of intense change, of shedding of old selves, and growth of new self, growth of maybe underdeveloped parts of existing self, and often stages of transformation. This is an old process, and there's different ways of handling it, understanding this kind of process, and managing it in different traditions, religious, spiritual traditions, New Age traditions. That phrase gets a really bad name, but I feel like it's more like it's a larval state. It's a baby, like New Age. It's coming to terms with having like most of or much of the traditions and rituals and inspirations, channeled information that individual cultures over history have had available. And now we have most of that available to us to understand life and ourselves from different perspectives, and go through these kinds of journeys, these spiritual awakenings, in a powerful way. We have such an abundance of information, but such a lack of understanding these days. So spiritual awakenings, they can leave you feeling a little off kilter, a little obtuse, a little knocked to the side sometimes. There's a lot of feeling broken down or getting broken down and rebuilding and finding the way on a rocky path with many trips and stumbles. It's a difficult process that many people have gone through, but at the moment, if that kind of stage, amazing, furtive stage for new possibilities within a person's life, if it's treated, I don't know, like a mental health problem, or there's a lack of understanding of the kinds of experiences that tend to happen, that are quite common actually, and the kinds of new connections with the world, new abilities, new vigor, the kinds of things that become available during the process of spiritual awakening, and there can be many in a person's life. It's intimidating to some people, a lot of people, and could easily get pathologized in many, many, many ways. I think of times when we used to do lobotomies more often and electroshock therapy far too much. And how many people may have been going through some sort of spiritual awakening without the proper support from loved ones and others that kind of understand, and maybe even guidance from those that have some degree of elevated experience or authority or knowledge on these kinds of things. It can be rough. Those two examples of lobotomy and electroshock therapy are dark points in the history of mental health care, and I have a feeling that part of there are many transformations going on right now. The world, fucking shit, man. The world is going through a spiritual awakening. I don't know how else to put it, but that's the truth. That's what's happening right now. And, if you try to fit that kind of process into a box that is accordant with a manual and a set of sort of externally provable understandings of the body and outcomes and all this kind of thing, you really miss the point, and it's very dangerous actually. Apart from, I don't know, misunderstanding the process of spiritual awakening and someone ending up in like an institution or something. It can also very, very severely, like even if you don't end up in an institution, it can very, very severely derail, sidetrack, or corrupt the powerful process of spiritual awakening. So, listen, there are so many people out there that don't understand. They have knowledge, they have information, but they don't have understanding. And they move from a place of a lack of understanding, and it's very dangerous if they have power and influence. So listen, be confident. I think there's just ripple scatter bombs of spiritual awakenings going off because the world is going through it. Society is going through it. You and I are going through it. Many of us. Some of you are ignoring it. Some of you don't have the tools or the knowledge to engage with it. But there's just this mass spiritual awakening happening right now. And I mean, it's again, like, language is so laden with baggage. Like, it's cheesy to talk about a spiritual awakening. To even use the word spirit or spiritual is like, it makes some people roll their eyes. But they don't understand, and they're missing the point. This is the kind of convergence of unprecedented possibility and transformation that people have been talking about for a long time. There's been many, every decade or two, some sort of big alignment of the planets and the stars that are happening, and some movement that's happening through culture to do with consciousness and maybe some sort of love and peace or deeper connection with each other and ourselves. This ebbs and flows. But listen, guys, listen. What just happened? I'm not that old, right? I'm not that old yet. I've never experienced anything remotely like that. Now, I wasn't alive during World War II or many of the other terrible conflicts that have gripped what was understood as the world, right? Because, at a certain point in history, the world was a continent or a portion of a continent. And, World War II is a recent example of the world being gripped by dark conflict. And we were gripped with dark internal conflict, which is an essential component of the process of spiritual awakening. We were getting right down into that shadow in these last few years with this global sickness. And I've spoken to people older than me, who have been through things that I haven't been through in history. And they also have not experienced something like what we recently went through. I had a lot of fucking crazy losses, challenges over that time, but that was my microcosm. And it was just a mirror of the larger macrocosm, and most of you were going through some version of unprecedented chaos. And for some of you, it catalyzed this process. Some of you didn't ask for it, didn't want it, but you started tumbling and you started questioning things, your world, your identity, maybe looking deeper, maybe looking at the wide, rich range of understandings of spirits and consciousness that we have available. And even if you were tumbling, you started on your journey. For many people, and this is how these things often get catalyzed. Loss. For many people, it's loss. And that can be the loss of a home or a relationship or, a career, a job that you love. I know that happened to a lot of people over these last few years. But I'm talking about people you love, like your folks, like your family members or your friends. A lot of people lost a lot of people over the last few years for a whole bunch of reasons, partly due to a lot of mistakes of pride and arrogance. Various little sort of masked eruptions of tyranny that are still lurking, waiting for another reason to take control. But one of the most common ways that something like a spiritual awakening starts is the loss of a parent. I mean, this is just normal. So, you grow up, maybe you go to school, we have all these markers in our life, and they're nested, right? It's fractal, but there's some sort of big cardinal markers that most people experience, like, birth, maybe sort of going to school for the first time, like sex, first love, moving out of your parents' place, moving in with a partner, marriage, in whatever that way that means to you, whether it's legal or some other form of really deep signified commitment, and children, having kids. These are all points of maturation. And we don't have to go through all of them to be a full human being or an adult, but they are like cardinal points, catalysts for change, stages for us to step into. And another stage is towards the end, hopefully for most people, but death, where often it starts with your parents passing away, and eventually, if you live long enough, everyone around you, but that's another stage of maturation, and usually it starts with your parents. And when you lose both parents, well, that's a whole different thing, because you're alone in the world. You don't have that person to look to rely on, to give you answers, who's gone through it, who's like you, who you love unconditionally, and trust. And I mean, listen, hopefully you have parents like that. There's a lot of families out there that are not so kind and loving, and don't necessarily always have your best interests at heart, or maybe family members within a family, But for most of us, losing our parents, one or both, like, that will trigger a deep process of self-examination, coming to terms with the environment you're actually in, sort of smashing all the illusions, and figuring out what you want to be, what you've been waiting to be, what you haven't been letting yourself be. And so, at some point in the process of grief, these things happen. People have all sorts of experiences. I mentioned in a previous video about speaking to a deceased relative, like your folks. Again, psychologically, you get to work out maybe disagreements or share accomplishments with them. And you can view it just as a mental process, but there's more going on. And those kinds of things, those kinds of understandings, relaxing the grip of your mind enough that there's room for something like a dialogue with your deceased loved one to be taken seriously. These are like early stages of spiritual awakening, right? And it's very difficult. And a lot of people lose their way because you got to go through your shadow. And it takes perseverance, and courage, and, love. But it's hard to love what is kicking the shit out of you. Especially when it's yourself. Because that's our shadow, right? Like, light hits us and the shadow is cast. And maybe it's not as warm in that shadow. Maybe if we stand in one spot for long enough, the grass will even die, right? But that's still a part of us. It's an interaction with the environment that extends from us. As light hits our skin and even reflects, shadow is cast when we stand in front of a light source. And it's a part of us. And some people get lost or don't have the tools to find their way through the difficult stages or the early stages, but it's normal and natural. And there's also all sorts of incredible experiences that are a necessary part of it. But again, when you pathologize certain kinds of things, like, again, this is a place to start, right? Having a conversation with a deceased loved one and taking it seriously, okay? You're not crazy because you do that kind of thing. This is healthy. And what is unhealthy is to pathologize those kinds of things. Because, listen, baby, there's so many haters out there. Haters, maybe in your group of friends, maybe in your family, maybe in your neighborhood, you know? There's a lot of haters right now. And part of the world going through a spiritual awakening, like, has not happened in my lifetime and maybe many of your lifetimes. But part of that is that shadow, baby. And you know what? A lot of people are, boom! They're crashing with the weight of their shadow. They're picking up debris. They're picking up dirt along the way. And they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to address it. They don't have guidance. They don't have a clear idea of the right path to walk with these things. And it doesn't have to be a narrow path. Again, we have the beautiful breadth of history of different traditions available these days. And, you know, getting back to New Age, which has gathered a lot of haters. I grew up in New Age, okay? It is kind of cheesy. I get sick of it all the time, but I grew up in New Age. My folks were both psychotherapists, and I grew up around all sorts of interweaving of traditions and rituals from different parts of history, from different places in the world, and it was normal for me. And even as a young child, I was curious about this. I was interested. I was drawn to it. You see, this is a Buddhist string from a Buddhist ritual that I did a number of years ago. It's connected to, I think you call it a Celtic cross. I think it's silver. My father gave it to me many years ago, and I held on to it and barely wore it. And in the last year or two, I don't know, it just spoke to me. In that case, I had this red and gold string from a Buddhist ritual. I think it was my Yidam initiation. Demchog was assigned to me by a Lama Rinpoche, sorry, I think. At one point, I think that's what this string is from. But again, it's just intuitive. It was in the package, or the case, let's say, with the Celtic cross. And the chain that I had from when I was a child when I got this cross was too small, so I strung it together. And I've always kind of had an appreciation for, you know, these religions of the book, as well as I grew up surrounded by religions like Buddhism. So it's not just one narrow path. There are many ways to walk it, but a lot of people don't even know that they're on it. And so when they go down some little shitty side road, fall off a cliff, or they'll run into bandits, or get deep into the dark forest and not know where to go, you know? I mean, there's all sorts of places a person can go when they should be kind of examining themselves and taking some catastrophic thing in their life as a chance to grow. There's dark places that we can go to when we give into our weakness, when we let our ego stop us from looking at ourselves, right? From really looking at it and seeing what has hurt us in the past, what we don't like, coming to terms with it, and courageously trying to change it. And it's not an easy process, and you're going to run into a lot of haters. But I just want to tell you, no matter what, like, external accomplishments or displays or trophies of merit and virtue a person has, if they're taking from other people, it's one thing to criticize, actually, with the desire to help, and with the recognition that you maybe don't know what you're talking about, right? That's one thing. Criticism can be very a beautiful gift, but just hating, just trying to take someone's shine, just trying to bring someone down because you get triggered some way. It's going to happen when you're on your journey of spiritual awakening, and I think a lot of you are. No matter the external displays of accomplishment, merely by walking in the truth of your path, really doing it, sacrificing, changing, doing good, loving more. That's the beginning. That's just the first leg of the journey. You need to get the hang of that stuff. If you're on that stage of the journey, taking it seriously, just at the beginning, you are a better, more accomplished person than someone who has 10 cars and 5 mansions and I don't know, 3 PhDs and the adulation and accolades of the world that anybody could get. You're still more accomplished if those people are not doing that. If those people are hating on other people, you're better than them. So, I'm learning to be unbothered. I'm powerful and I'm sensitive. I grew up in an environment that supported both of those things, but it's been difficult to deal with the haters because I feel it, because I look at someone and I can see into their windows. I can see the shadows in there. Sometimes it frightens me what they might have buried in their backyard. And people react to that. I'm not the only one. Some people are sensitive and intuitive like that. But people react, and it's hard because you feel it. Because I don't want approval from people, or a little bit of approval is nice, right? Enough to be able to communicate and have a kind of reciprocal respect. But I don't like that feeling of someone hating. Like it's childish. It's one of the most base states, but it's such a common state these days that's rewarded in so many arenas, and it's causing young adults to never grow up and to gain money and power and inherit the world, but they still haven't fucking grown up. So, if you find yourself in the midst of a storm or at the other end of a storm, the crisis has hit you like a wrecking ball, there's obviously lessons to learn. And if you take it seriously, and do your best, and then do better than your best. And then forgive yourself at times when you can't even do your best. If you're walking that path and you're struggling, and people are hating on you, or picking on you, or competing with you when you try to do everything to be fair and not compete with others, it's one of the most saddest fucking loser shit fucking face things I can think of, is trying to compete with someone that doesn't even see you. Like groupie shit, like twisted, sick groupie stuff where, you know, and again, it happens online all the time in various arenas and levels of fame and success. Just like people are jealous or triggered or whatever by what someone says, or maybe their success, or both, or maybe they don't even know. And they start competing. And it's like they compete with someone who doesn't even know there's a competition, or just doesn't care because it's fucking petty, and like, you know, let's lift these boats up. You know what I mean? Like let's everyone rise, or most people rise if they want to get their shit together. Yeah, that competing with people who don't give a shit about you, or like aren't competing with you back. It's not just childish. It's juvenile. It's like teenager stuff where you have enough power and understanding of the world to actually compete and maybe win or something like that. But like you're winning a game in your own mind that the person isn't playing. Anyways, you're gonna get a lot of fucking shitheads. There's a lot of swearing in this. I don't care. You know, you gotta let it flow sometimes. You're gonna get a lot of fucking shitheads that are gonna try to compete with you and hate on you and whatever, and hold you back. And there's something happening for them within their level of understanding, but there's a lot of other things going on as well. They're teachers sometimes. Sometimes they're just pieces of shit, and you need to teach them. But or you're there to teach them through your journey or something. But listen, you're gonna get a lot of nasty, petty little bitches. Okay, nasty, petty little bitches out there, and you got to stay strong. And like was recommended in a video I watched earlier today, you got to try. You got to learn to be unbothered. And I'm getting better at it. I haven't been able to smile like this for years, and it feels great. So many of us are going through spiritual awakenings. Quite a few of us are connecting to that in some way. Unfortunately, a number of us don't have that kind of larger framework. Maybe we're worshipers of the material and we don't think there's anything more. You know, if you want to crash into the ground, that's fine. You know, that's what's going to happen if you don't know how to sort of like drive through this portion of your life. It happens to a lot of people. If you want to learn to navigate it, if you want to learn to fly, there's a rich variety of resources out there. You just have to do it. You just have to be able to look at yourself. You have to be able to change the things you don't want to change. Change your habits and your relationships and your mindset. Something's got to go deeper. Something's got to get wider. Something you got to go further. Beyond. For some of you. Beyond your limits. So don't let the haters get you down. Because they're going to do their thing. And they are little fucks. But karma comes for them too. And be thankful when you can. Like during the moments that you're not inundated by some sort of anxiety or irritation or something like that. Like, you know, say thank you now and again in your own mind. Fuck them. You know, don't say thank you to them, but say thank you in your own mind for them allowing you to see that that's a part of the world, to learn to be better, to not want to be that kind of person, and to maybe like live a life that shows other people that you don't have to be that way. a technique that has been described to me that I'm working with heavily in recent days. It was described to me by my Wei Chi Ryu karate teacher who had some experience with Tai Chi, and then someone else who taught me to do a little bit of shiatsu. I had some Qigong training and Tai Chi training, and they both talked about it, and I'm sure some of you at least know the concept. And I haven't gone super in depth to it. It was just explained a few times, and we tried to use it in practice. And so I think I found it very helpful when you have those little bitches, those haters, toss and shade your way or trying to suck your energy away, and they're going to do that. They don't even know. That's the thing. I mean, some small portion of mercy for the fact that a lot of them don't even know how shitty and twisted they are. Don't know any better, many of them. But they're gonna do those things to you. And as you go through your journey, as you become more open and aware and sensitive, you're gonna feel it more. So this technique is called the inner smile. And I'm not very good at it, but I'm getting better. You can get better too. It's not very it's like simple but very complex. Again, that sounds like the worst part of the new agey shit, right? What does that even mean? So I found it helpful because of the Qigong training, which is very sort of body awareness oriented, to locate it through sort of awareness and sensation in this way. And it was sort of described with this gesture in this way to me by at least one of the people that spoke about it. So, this here is the belly button, a few fingers below and maybe a few fingers in, sort of like the Dantian. It's called the center. It's a very core principle in a lot of Qigong practices. So if you find the Dantian, again, just a few your finger widths below the belly button and inside, sort of lined up with the perineum, if you know where that is. Try to feel an inner smile, right? Feel a smile. Now, don't just feel, I don't know, like your stomach relaxes or lifts at the sides or something like that, but feel that smile from your center, envision it, see if you can get some sort of real sensation in your body with your body awareness to start in that sort of shape, and try to connect to a sort of happiness that doesn't give a fuck about anything. So it can help with the haters. But what I've been doing recently is using it while I'm meditating, or I did it today while it was raining. When it's raining, when it's cold, because sometimes, a spring shower or something is beautiful, right? Very invigorating. But when it's cold and it's gray and the temperature's low, or you're not dressed right for the temperature, and you're in the middle of your meditation and it starts raining, use your inner smile. And so I've been trying to practice that with the inner smile in my meditation in the last few months, in a focused way, because I came into this concept a while ago. But use that inner smile. Feel it from your center, and feel it sort of expand and curl up your body, open as much as you can. If you have an awareness of chakras, let it open from your center, let it open the whole chakra system, wide, bottom to top, center outwards. Just let it open everything up and smile. And so the fact that you're alive, I mean, some of you might be in a really difficult situation. I don't know what that would be, but the fact that you're alive in this beautiful place at this difficult but incredible time, there's a reason to smile. And I hated all that look on the bright side of stuff garbage, really, to me, when I was going through difficulty with both my folks and their illness and dying and stuff like that. But this helps. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you do have to engage with the things that don't make you happy. So, in the case of it raining and meditating, maybe it's cold. Maybe a drop is, dripping off the end of my nose and it's tickling me. Maybe your clothes are getting wet and you're getting really you're shivering, Of course, don't push it too far. I mean, it depends on the temperature, be safe with yourself, but it's okay. It's okay. It could be worse. Even if you get a cold, and again, if you go out and meditate, try to practice your inner smile on a regular basis on rainy days, and you keep getting colds, and change your routine. It doesn't sound very good, but the point is, the tickle on the nose, the damp clothing, the shiver, it's really not that bad. There's a lot worse that you could be experiencing. And so working with that inner smile, because it's not just a physical thing. It's not just focusing on the body and feeling that smile open you up. It's accepting the things that suck, that irritate you. You just want to do something about it. Let the fucking drip. Let it drip. Let it sit there and tickle you. Let it drip off. It's going to drip off eventually. And again, I hated this stuff. I hated all this kind of stuff. When I was, in the midst of my crises and storm and stuff like that, it wasn't helpful. But, I'm not saying that your problems are going to get better tomorrow or the day after or the month or the year after, because my shit went on for years. But I am saying that the drop will drip off your nose. And soon it won't be tickling you. So practice with the drop. Work your way out. Eventually, you can be unbothered. And hate will slide off you, or you will just effortlessly sidestep it, or it will bounce off you like bullets off Superman or Superwoman. But this is something I've been working with, and I found it very helpful in dealing with feeling like people are draining you or not appreciating you or just being shitty. The inner smile. I guess the other thing about helping you manage, endure, or not even be bothered, again, be unbothered eventually with enough practice about haters hating, but it makes the haters just like they peter out. Eventually, it's not working. Why aren't they reacting? Oh, no, he's even happier. Oh, he's laughing louder than us. You know what I mean? Man, it pisses him off. Don't fake it. You got to be able to let it move over you and through you at times. Eventually, it will pass right by you. I don't think I'm there yet, but I have glimpses of it as I've been working with this technique. So work with your inner smile, especially in, minimally threatening, somewhat inconsequential, uncomfortable experiences. See if you can sit there and just be happy about it. It might be a bit uncomfortable, but practice being happy and uncomfortable. If I can do it, so can you.